Mallory is famously quoted as having replied to the question, "Why did you want to climb Mount Everest?" with the retort, "Because it's there." In this story, there are no losers and winners, but people who have pursued their obsession. Mallory and Irvine are the protagonists of this adventure. It wasn't the first real ascent of Everest, or maybe yes, but certainly one of the most talked about even today, despite 100 years have passed. The particular thing is that they disappeared in the clouds around the top, and then no one saw them again, leaving a veil of mystery. Did they reach the top or not? The mystery became less dense in 1999, when Mallory's body was found, still well preserved despite the years, with a note in his pocket. But let's start from the beginning. Mallory and Irvine were two British climbers that joined the 1924 Everest expedition, led by General Charles Bruce. After circling the mountain from the south side, his party finally discovered the East Rockbook Glacier, the way to the summit now used by nearly all climbers on the Tibetan side of the mountain. We will go up this way. However, the north side, although easier to climb the early stages, is more complicated above the 8,000 meters or 26,000 feet than the southwestern Nepalese side. In this expedition were other supporters also. Mallory, who was 37 at the time of the expedition, believed his age would make this his last opportunity to climb the mountain. Mallory and Bruce made a first attempt but was aborted at around 26,000 feet. Then, finally, on 4 June 1924, Mallory and Irvine set off from advanced base camp at 21,000 feet, or 6,000 half meters, from the North Pole, with oxygen supplement. On 8 June, expedition member Nolo Deal was moving up behind the pair in a support role. At around 26,000 feet, or 8,000 meters, he spotted the two climbing a prominent rock step, either the first or second step, about 1 p.m. "We have to go back, a storm is coming. Let's go up a little more, then we go back." Presumably, Mallory and Irvine died either late the same evening or on 9 June. The news of Mallory and Irvine's disappearance was widely mourned in Britain, and the two were hailed as national heroes. Mallory's will has proven in London. He bequeathed his estate to his wife. After their disappearance, several expeditions tried to find their remains, and perhaps determine if they had reached the summit. In 1999, the Mallory and Irvine Research Expedition, sponsored in part by the BBC, arrived at the Everest to search for the lost pair. Within hours of beginning the search on 1st May, they found a frozen body on the north face of the mountain. They were surprised to find that name tags on the body's clothing bore the name of George Mallory. The body was well preserved, due to the freezing condition. Personal effect, including a letter and a bill from a London supplier of climbing equipment, confirmed the identity of the body. The team could not, however, locate the camera that the two climbers took to document their final summit attempt, and of Irvine's body, no trace. Some climbers say that they have reached the summit, while others deny this theory. Mallory's daughter said that Mallory carried a photograph of his wife on his person with the intention of leaving it on the summit. This photograph was not found on Mallory's body. This points to the possibility that he reached the summit and deposited the photo there. And the Mallory's unbroken snow goggles were found in his pocket, suggesting that Irvine and he had made a push for the summit and were descending after sunset. Chris Bonington, the British mountaineer, argued that if we accept the fact that they were above the second step, they would have seemed to be incredibly close to the summit of Everest. And I think at this stage something takes hold of the most climbers. And I think therefore taking all those circumstances in view, I think it's quite convincible that they did go for the summit. Now let's listen the skeptics. From the location of their final camp discovered in 2001, a summit climb may be estimated to have taken them around 11 hours. Assuming they took 2 cylinders each, they had only about 8 hours of oxygen available. The oxygen would almost certainly have run out before they reached the summit. Thus, even if Mallory had taken Irvine's oxygen, he would not have had enough oxygen to reach the summit. Experienced modern climbers have mixed views on whether Mallory was capable of climbing the second step on the North Ridge, now surmounted by an aluminum ladder fixed in place by Chinese climbers in 1975, to bridge this very difficult pitch. However, if evidence were to be found showing that George Mallory and Andrew Irvine had reached the summit of Everest in 1924, proponents of the first ascent of Hillary and Norgay argue that the record should not be changed. Without photographic evidence, there is no evidence that Mallory has reached the summit, and it would be unfair to say that the first man to climb Everest was George Mallory. Even Edmund Hillary, catalogued as the first man to climb Everest in 1953, declared, "If you even climb a mountain for the first time and die on the way down, is it really a first full ascent of the mountain?" Conrad Anker, who found Mallory's body in 1999, said they believe it's possible but highly improbable that they made it to the top. Noel O'Dill believed that he had seen Mallory and Irvine ascend the second step, but eventually changed his story to say it was the first step. Towards the end of his life, however, he reaffirmed his original view. At 1 p.m., there was a sudden clearing of the atmosphere, and the entire summit ridge and the final peak of Everest were unveiled. My eyes became fixed on the tiny black spot silhouetted on a small snow crest beneath a rock step in the ridge. The first then approached the grey rock step and shortly emerged at the top. The second did likewise. Then the whole fascinating vision vanished, enveloped in cloud once more. From that day, no one saw them anymore. Even today, the summit of Mallory and Irvine remains a mystery. Did they reach the top or not? Well, we probably never know, but in any case, they went down in history.